everybody, it is Rachel here with Yarn at Play Crochet to do an in-depth yarn review for you today of Ice Yarn's Lana Bella yarn. Now I've been working with this yarn for about a week, slowly working up this infinity scarf and this pretty peekaboo chevron stitch. If you are interested in a tutorial on how to do this stitch, go ahead and click on the card right up there, and I'll put it in the link in the description below as well, so you can find that video if you are interested in getting a tutorial on this stitch. But in the meantime, let's get into this yarn. So I ordered this from Ice Yarn, and they come in a 4-pack. And so I got 4 of these skeins in my order when I ordered it. And I will give you all the details here. This yarn is 70% acrylic and 30% wool. There are 100 grams or 3.53 ounces in each skein. And you get, for that 100 grams, you get 250 meters or 273 yards. This is classified as a 3-weight yarn, and they recommend a 4mm needle or a 5mm hook. And I would agree with that. I've been using a 5mm hook, and it has been working up really, really well. As you can see, the colors on this are really beautiful and vibrant. This is a roving style yarn, so rather than having that multiple ply construction, it is just a single ply of yarn that is twisted nice and tight, and that gives it the classic roving style. And because of that, it is going to have places where it is a bit thicker, and it is going to have places where it's a bit thinner. So you can see this strand here is thicker, and this strand right here is going to be thinner. But that is just typical of a roving style yarn, and it kind of gives it, it doesn't make it work up badly, and it gives it kind of really a pretty kind of like homespun kind of look to it. I've really enjoyed working with this, and you can see in this colorway too how it has kind of that variegated or marled look in spots, and then it goes back to being those solid colors. And I thought that that was really, really pretty. It's something that you can't really see online in the pictures. And so I thought that that was kind of fun when I ordered this. I was really happy with the colors. I'd been drooling over this colorway for quite some time. I love pink and green together, and red is my favorite color. So if I get all of those in one, I'm very happy. So I've really been enjoying the color of this yarn. It's got a nice shine to it. It doesn't have too much of a halo or a fuzz. It does have one, don't get me wrong, you can see it there. It does have a halo and a fuzz, but it's not like overwhelming. It's not like a Picasso or something like that where it's a very fuzzy yarn. You just get a bit of fuzz from that roving style. So that's enough of that, and I will show you how it works up here in this. And you can see too how it looks worked up. You can see a bit more of that fuzz, but it gives a really nice stitch definition, as I find roving style yarns to do. It has a little bit of these white kind of woolly strands that run through it in different spots, but it doesn't shed. It's not a yarn that really sheds badly or anything like that. I haven't found it to be an issue at all. They just, every once in a while, you get one that's a little bit loose and it pokes out, and then you just kind of swipe it away and it's gone. But this gives you a really beautiful stitch definition, really beautiful colors. And I mean, obviously the colors are going to work up differently depending on what you're doing with it and the stitch that you're doing, but just doing this scarf, kind of this width, which I would say is kind of a standard kind of cowl width. You can see my hand here for reference. I mean, my hands are pretty big, but it's approximately 2 hands widths wide, and it gives it this really beautiful kind of gradient stripe in there. I was really, really pleased with how the striping worked out with this width of project. Okay, so I will work up a little bit here, and I'm going to move this so you can see it up against the white background. Oh, and my yarn's getting tangled around. We don't want a twisted yarn. Okay. I will work it up a little bit here so you can see exactly how, don't need my hair in there, how it works up. as you're stitching along. Sorry, I kind of grabbed this in a part where it's black, so it might be a little bit harder to see. But it is a very nice and smooth yarn to work with. I have not had any splitting issues with it at all because it is that roving style. So splitting is not really something that you need to be terribly concerned with a roving style yarn. So that has not been an issue at all. It works up really nicely on the hook. It glides smoothly, and it is not at all a hindrance. Oops, if I don't drop a stitch here. It at all a hindrance to crochet with. I find that I can, once I get going, I can get a pretty good rhythm with it and get moving at a pretty good clip and make a good amount of progress in a short amount of time with this yarn. And if you're familiar with working with roving style yarns, it works, I would say, just as well as pretty much any other roving style yarn you've worked with. I wouldn't say that it's anything special to work with, but it's certainly nothing a struggle to work with either. And it is nice and soft. I did not mention that earlier, but it is nice and soft. If you've ever used rainbow yarn from Ice Yarn, it is softer than rainbow yarn, which I was really surprised because it does have that 30% wool in there, but it is a bit softer than rainbow. I personally prefer this over rainbow. I like the way that it works up. And the striping of it, I like the softness of it. And I don't know. I just prefer this a bit over rainbow. Anyways, going back to this. So I will show you here how it rips out stitches, which I do remember having to rip out a bunch of stitches with rainbow, and it was a beast to rip back. So we will see how this goes here. So far, there's a little snag. But oh, nope, now we're going to get snags. Initially, it was doing pretty well. So this actually is not terrible. I remember when I was ripping back rainbow, which is another roving style yarn, and it is a 100% acrylic yarn, that I couldn't get more than 2 stitches without having to pull out snags, and I just wanted to rip out my hair. As I'm getting a little farther though, with some of these stitches that have been a little bit more established and that yarn has had a chance to kind of blend together, it is not going to rip back as well. So these stitches are like, I had just done that row. This row here that I'm pulling back now, I did that row earlier today, and it was sitting on my couch, so it had the friction of the couch, the kids moving it back and forth, so those fibers have had a chance to attach to one another a little bit better. And so that's why it's not pulling out quite as well. It's still not as bad at ripping back as rainbow. That was just, I mean, yeah, I wanted to cry. It was bad. But this is not nearly that bad. It's not a great pulling out yarn, but if you did need to frog back a few rows, as long as you were careful, I don't think that you should have any major concerns with that. Sorry, I was way out of frame there. Hopefully I was not way out of frame there for a very long time. My apologies. So that is how it frogs back. I'm going to stop ripping out stitches now. All right, so that is how it rips back. And then I did do a amigurumi ball swatch because I do that with all my in-depth yarn reviews, and I love the way that this looks. I did not have any issues at all in here tightening down my magic circle. My stitches worked up really smooth and easily. You can see my ball has a fuzz on it. It definitely does, but it's not like puffy, it's fuzzy, if that makes sense. And the way that it changed color and the gradient in here, I thought just turned out really, really lovely. Now this up in here, those white flecks, that's just me crocheting in the dark and not realizing that I was pulling my stuffing when I was doing my stitches. So don't look at that. But the rest of this here is just really beautiful. And I love the way that that color change turned out. It gives a nice tight definition on stitches. I actually probably would work up a full amigurumi project with this yarn, just because I love that fade. That slow fade is just so beautiful to me. I don't know what project I would do with this, but if I was looking for a yarn that had a nice slow color change like that, I would definitely consider this, as I really enjoyed working this up into my amigurumi swatch. I kind of think that this looks like a strawberry. I don't know. I know strawberries typically don't have all those colors in there, but it just looked like a strawberry to me. All right, so let's get into our hot wash, hot dry test, because I always do a hot wash, hot dry test on my yarns because Ice Yarn doesn't really have their care instructions on their website. They do have, which I did notice, this on the label, but as far as I can tell, they have this same exact symbols on every label. I haven't really noticed a difference. So I don't know. Their care instructions are not very thorough. So I do a hot, dry, hot wash test. Just to give it really as much worst case scenario possibility that could happen so that you know exactly what to do and what not to do with your yarn so you don't wind up accidentally ruining a piece. So this was my swatch that I did. That came through a hot wash and a hot dry. And I have to say, you guys, this came out really, really well. Honestly, this is the back side here. You can see the strand because I didn't sew it in because I like to kind of see what happens to the yarn when it's not sewn in. So you can see that strand there. It definitely lost its twist and fuzzed up a bit, but your ends are going to be sewn in. So this is not going to happen to you unless you did a fringe with this. So you can kind of see what would happen if you did a fringe with this. But all that happened was that those fibers just expanded a little bit into each other. I mean, there's a bit more fuzz to it, but nothing out of the ordinary that I would say. I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's hard for me even to see a huge difference between this swatch that went through the wash and dry and this yarn here. Let me just try and find a similar color so you can see. There really is not any significant difference in the amount of fuzz that is coming off of this yarn as in the freshly worked up yarn. Now, I mean, I will say that this, you know, I can tell the difference between these two, that one's been washed and one hasn't, but not by much. Really not by much. You haven't had any bleeding, fading, not really any real loss of stitch definition. I mean, they're a little bit closer together. Those fibers have expanded slightly, but you still have good stitch definition on all of this. Now, this does have 30% wool in it, so I was expecting disaster. I was not expecting this to handle the hot wash, hot dry at all, and it came out looking pretty good. Honestly, I think that just knowing who I am as a person and how I care for my items, I would hot wash and hot dry this again. I really would. I mean, if I did an entire big garment out of it, I would err on the side of caution and hang to dry. But if I had a dryer that had the option to low temp dry, I definitely would. I wouldn't think twice about it. I don't have a dryer that has that option. My dryer only has a hot dry option. So I would probably still hang to dry. But I mean, I threw this in this with jeans and towels. And there's no real significant wear on this. It held up really, really well. So I'm going to stop gushing. Would I buy this again? 100%. Wouldn't hesitate, wouldn't think twice. I was genuinely blown away by this yarn. I think that it is worth every cent of every penny you could spend on it. I plan on probably buying this again in some different colorways. I am just really over the moon pleased with this yarn, with its durability, how it looks up in an amigurumi swatch, and how it works up here. The only thing that might be a little tricky is that it does not frog back super great, but it's not horrible either. No, I'm really, really pleased with this yarn. So let me get into the pricing for you. So the price breakdown for this yarn comes out to one pack of 4 will run you $21.94 after shipping to the United States with nothing else in your cart at iceyarn.com, which is generally the worst case scenario as far as ice yarn shipping goes, because the more you order, the lower your price per ball or skein the shipping comes out to. So $21.94 with shipping for a pack of 4, which comes out to $5.48 per skein. And I think that it's definitely worth that. $5.48. Yeah, I would spend $5.48 for this, especially when I consider some of the stuff that you can spend $5.48 for or more in the store, the brick and mortar store like Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think that this is definitely worth that price for sure. I am really, really pleased with this. I would buy this again. I am planning on buying this again. And I really enjoyed working it up. I think that this would make absolutely gorgeous shawls, scarves, and pretty much anything else that you can think of. This might really make a beautiful like scarf, hat, and mitten set. Or anything else that you can dream up. I am very, very pleased with this. I highly recommend Lana Bella. If you want to see all the colorways that they have available, I will go ahead and link those in the description box below so you can take a look and see all the different color options that they have available on their website. If you have not already checked out my giveaway that I am currently doing, that will be closing as of July 1st, 2021. You should definitely go and watch that video. I will link that video up here so you can go ahead and check out that giveaway. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel, to like this video if you found this content helpful, and to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.